What's up, it's Jimfro from Ready Check Pull, and this is our quick guide to the Spires of Ascension dungeon in Shadowlands. Also, here's a list of timestamps on screen and in the description so you can jump to the spot that you need. We'll start off by showing the bosses, and then we'll talk about notable trash and other things at the end. Kintara is the first boss of the dungeon. She has a little pet with her that moves around randomly and only really does one ability, Attenuated Barrage, which is a slow that spits out a few black bolts in a random direction. Just dodge those if you can. Kintara herself does a huge physical cleave on the tank, so make sure to never have her facing the other party members. Dark Lance needs to be interrupted to avoid the massive dot that gets put on random players. When she flies up in the air, everyone needs to spread out. One player will be targeted with Charged Spear, and that player needs to quickly get out of its cloudy pool. The boss and her pet need to be killed around the same time to avoid them enraging, which gives whichever one is still alive an additional ability to dodge that's super deadly. The second encounter is Ventunax. She will occasionally charge a player, putting a dot on the player and dropping a shadow cloud on the ground. The clouds randomly shoot out dark bolts that knock players in the air if they aren't dodged. Make sure she's never facing the party because she does a frontal cone that should also be dodged by the tank. When the boss gets to 0 energy, she stops and casts Reabsorb Anima, which regenerates her energy and causes more bolts to spawn from the ground pools. Oryphrion is the third boss in the dungeon. You'll want to keep everyone spread at least 8 yards to avoid multiple people getting hit by the Purifying Blast. Healers should dispel the tank whenever the boss casts Charge Stomp. This is a 30% slow that could cause real problems if the tank is unable to move the boss quick enough. When the boss casts Imperial Ordnance, each player will drop a blue circle. You'll need to get out of the circle and move the boss away from them too. Everyone needs to help soak the orbs before they get to the boss to prevent them from doing huge AoE damage. The boss takes double damage while he's recharging, so this is a perfect time to use DPS cooldowns. When he gets back to full energy, it's just rinse and repeat. The final boss in the dungeon is Devos, Paragon of Doubt. Everyone needs to stand close to the edge of the platform because the boss casts Run Through, which is a super long charge that does damage to anyone that the boss goes through. Standing next to the edge stops the boss from going so far away. Of course, you also want to dodge the charge. The boss puts a swirly under a targeted player, which will turn into an orb and explode after 4 seconds, doing huge damage to any player in 10 yards. Occasionally, the boss will target a player with Lingering Doubt. That player needs to run away from the group so the healer can dispel it. When dispelled, a pool will spawn under the player that does damage to anyone standing in it. Devos will eventually jump to the middle of the room to activate the Anima Conduit. After activating it, players will need to dodge swirlies, pick up the blue orbs that spawn, and bring them to the Anima Conduit spear thing in the middle. When all of the orbs are collected, one player needs to click the spear to gain an extra action button, allowing you to throw the spear at the boss. Hitting Devos will force them back down on the ground to continue the encounter, and then just rinse and repeat. Oh, hey, before we do the boss recap, if you like this video, consider supporting us on Patreon. It's what allows us to make sweet guides like this one. So, let's recap the bosses real quick. Kintara. Kill the boss and pet at the same time and make sure to interrupt Dark Lance. Ventunax. Dodge all the dark bolts and don't get hit by the boss's frontal blast. Oryphrion. Stay spread out, dispel the tank, drop circles away from the boss, and soak orbs. Devos. Gather blue orbs when the boss flies away and throw the spear using the extra action ability. Alright, on to notable mobs. This dungeon is full of a bunch of generic abilities that you have to dodge. You'll know them when you see them. It's also full of interruptible casts, but here are the casts that you should focus on. Forsworn Warden. Interrupt Greater Mending. It heals all enemies in 20 yards. Forsworn Champion and Forsworn Mender. Interrupt Forsworn Doctrine. It also heals another enemy. Forsworn Goliath. Interrupt Rebellious Fist. It does damage to the whole party. You need to focus kill the Forsworn Squad Leader because it reduces the damage every mob around it takes by 75%. And that's our quick guide to the Spires of Ascension. I really need to take a second to thank all of our subscribers and Patreons who support us. The kind gesture means so much to us. Also, let us know if these guides are helpful in the comments below or in the Ready Check Pull Discord. Links to our streams and everything in the description. Love you all. Peace.